I'll just give like a brief summary of what we did last time, in case if anyone missed it or like that, this should work. So what we did was we created a chatbot using Dialogflow conversational agents, where we added playbooks. We learned about what how to add data store and how to incorporate generative AI and flow based agents, so that you can use generative AI for the informational basis. And if there's anything that you want to control in the chatbot, how can you do that, like, for example, booking tickets or paying money or something like that. So how do we control them? So we looked at all of that, right? So right now like the last time when I was teaching, I was just showing you how to do things, how simple it is to have a low code platform like Google Vertex AI and create your own chatbot. And we explored on how to add the data, or is the RAG architecture working or not. um, like a couple of questions that we got, like, if we have like a certain topic, for example, say Hawaii, that we did last time, if I ask about anything else, will it be able to answer? And we checked that, and it said it was not able to answer because it was sticking to the information that we are providing. We looked at how to add websites in our agents. We looked at how to add PDF files in our agents and all of that, right? So this particular class would be completely making you understand what these components are and why do you have to use it, how to use them. And I will teach you individually, and I will also add extra features, like, how do you add an additional, like, outside API and all of that in a very simple task. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is that don't over don't start somewhere complicated. Try something simple and then look for complicated stuff in creating chatbots when it is a low code platform. Okay. So right now all we are focusing is make you understand and make you introduced to these platforms, so that if you are somebody who is not interested in coding or who is new to coding, and if you feel overwhelmed about the subjects and feel like you will not be able to create chatbots without having technical knowledge, this is a this is a way for us to tell you that there are a lot of existing platforms where you can create the chatbots without having to worry about a lot of coding structures. Like, the more that you want to uh, you know um, modify these chatbots according to your need is when the coding comes into picture. Okay. So this is the main agenda. So for now, what I will teach is in Google, what if somebody asks you about Google Dialogflow or Google agent builder, you should be able to answer the components of it, which is very important. So last time we just had a run through of whatever happened, like whatever is there in the Google Vertex AI agent builder, conversational agents, and Dialogflow CX. I will now teach you the important components that these particular platform has, which leads you to build that conversational chatbot. Okay. So let me share my screen. Are you able to see my screen? So our agenda here, as I told you, is to learn the components of conversational agents uh, and Dialogflow CX. Basically, Dialogflow CX is now called conversational agents. Like right now, they are two separate entities, but Google has been mentioning that they might merge them and make them as conversational agents as a whole. This is an attempt, like I told before. Google is changing their, like, updating their resources on a like on like in a very faster pace. So probably if you see after a month, you might have the the wordings and all different, but it'll be similar similar things that you look at right now. So they're merging things, they're trying to update stuff and all of that. So basically right now the Dialogflow CX agent and conversational agents are seen as two different things, but in future it might be just conversational agents. So I will make sure that I show you the conversational agents UI and also the Dialogflow CX UI. There won't be much of a difference, but you can see a little bit, because conversational agents will have these playbooks and all of that, but Dialogflow CX agent will only have, like, the flow based agents. Don't get confused. I will come to them. I will show you the UI so that it will be easier for you. This is just for you to get a summary of what we are doing today. Okay. So right now, let's talk about the straightforward definitions of whatever is existing in Dialogflow CX agent and conversational agents, right? Because why is this necessary is, you might you might be able to create a entire chatbot looking at the videos that we did, or videos outside. But when you have to mention about, like, what is this, why did you do a certain task, what is intent, what do you know about it, you should be able to answer them, right? So, and understand also, because in future if you want to create something, and if you're not able to understand the definitions of what you're doing, it might be a little difficult. So I have put a couple of definitions in the simplest lines as possible, so that it will be easier for you to grab the essence of how these conversational agents are working, right? So first thing is an intent. Intent is a very important factor of Dialogflow CX, or the conversational agents, right? So intent is basically the purpose, like, basically when a user is putting an input, the purpose, it grabs the purpose behind the user's input. Okay. Basically it just represents what user wants to do or what user wants to ask. So in intents, what you can do is, for example, if I want to know about weather conditions, I can ask about weather conditions in certain number of ways. It's not like every user can come and ask about just one. Like I can come and ask about what is weather. Someone can come about and ask how is the weather today, and someone can come and ask what is the temperature today. So there are so many ways to ask about weather conditions, right? So this intent, what it will do is it will grab the essence of it by using the phrases that we have already fed into it. Okay. So that this is the main purpose, and this is one of the main components of Dialogflow CX, because this is how you will drive the whole chatbot. Okay. So now comes the entity. So basically when you have these intents, in the phrases, you might have one or two words which will have which is supposed to be like a variable. Okay. For example, let's say someone has told, I want to book a book a flight to New York. Okay. So the New York is an entity. New York is a location, right? It has a user input type, right? So you can add that New York as a location entity. It's like you're assigning a variable, and you're telling it, like you're naming it as an entity, so that next time when somebody is telling, like, I want to go to Hawaii or something, it will tag the Hawaii as a location. Okay. So that's how it will understand. How it will do all of this is because it has something called as natural language processing, where it will use all of its understanding and understanding from previous sentences that it has been trained with, and it will be able to give us the uh, response, or it will able to capture the intent in these ways. Okay. So a flow is basically like, for example, if I want to create a complete conversational bot, where I want to set up an agent where, I'll tell, if the user asks about booking a flight, I want the user to go to this particular page. If um, if the user is asking about like asking about some, just the informational basis of it, then I want to make the user go to a particular page, uh, or a particular flow. So what here is happening is basically this particular section handles how the specific topics are supposed to be taken as, or how they're supposed to be processed as, right? So for example, let's say we are creating an like huge travel agent, not just going to Hawaii, just like a huge travel agent bot, right? Now if somebody is asking about Hawaii, I want to make sure that they go to Hawaii's flow. And then if somebody is talking about New York, I want to make sure that they go to New York's flow. So I am creating separate flows for separate cities, so that it will be easier. Like when it goes to a New York flow, it you can ask about you can ask about New York's information, right? Then it will go to a certain route or certain page. If you ask about booking a flight, it will go to a certain page within the flow. So you see how flow is working, right? It's basically like how do you want the user to navigate from one place to another, and how do they go from one place to another, right? So that's how you use flows. Okay. So page is something that's within the flow, where you can, like, if flow is like a huge box, and page are like subsections of that box. Okay. So in that way, like, you can make sure that you can have separate pages for separate kind of information. Like I mentioned right now, if somebody is talking about booking tickets under Hawaii itself, then it can go to page in that particular page. If somebody is just asking about information on Hawaii, then we can navigate them to that particular page. So within the flow also, we can have these sub entities, like sub stuff called pages, where it is more going to, like, it is basically creating a more deeper level of conversation, right? Route. Route is also basically, like, for example, like I mentioned to you, right? It's basically the rule that determines what happens next to the conversation based on user input. For example, like if I'm telling that I am like I want to book tickets, right? Now I want to make sure that the user has been responded with it, right? So if they say I want to book tickets to Hawaii, then I have to hold that Hawaii uh, name somewhere, right? So I'll basically put it in a parameter and save it. Or I want to send them a message saying, okay, you want to, like, where do you want to go, or you want to transition to a page where it can go to book tickets to Hawaii. So there are so many things that you can do, that you want to do when user is trying to input something, right? So what will this route do is it will keep all that information at one place, right? It will determine what will happen when user inputs something. Okay, if I'm telling I'm going to Hawaii, then I can control what response or what should the agent do when somebody says that. When somebody says that, right? So it's as simple as that. Okay. Transition is basically when a route in within the route we can add a transition route where, like, from that moment or from that particular page or a flow, where should the uh, the where should the conversation go to, right? For example, right now I'm telling, I have given all the information about Hawaii, but I want to instigate these people to book tickets to Hawaii. So as soon as I give the information about Hawaii, I will probably send them to another page where it asks, do you want to book tickets or something like that. If they say yes or something, then I want to navigate to another page where it will actually take the user's information, and in the back end it will book the tickets. So I want to make sure that it goes to that deeper level of conversations, and you can do that through a transition. Okay. So fulfillment is basically a response or action when an intent is triggered what kind of response or an action that has to be performed. For example, you can display a message, or you can display like any parameters that you want to display or something like that. You can display like responses in, in different kind of formats, which I will show you. Or you can call an API using something called as webhook, which I will get to, which I'll get to at this point. So you can do a lot of things. So basically, fulfillment is a section where it's like a response or an action that is performed by the agent when an intent is triggered. Okay. So parameter is basically a piece of information that you can collect when the user inputs something, or it can be stored for later uses. For example, um, it's like a variable. If I have to tell it in coding terms, adding a variable so that it will store some information and we can use it to you know to to do something with it, or you can use it in your conditional statements, or you can use it for further use, for like later use, for whatever reasons that you want to. So that's a parameter. I hope everybody is on board. I will finish it, and then I will give you 2 minutes to ask if you have any questions. Then this, so this is an interesting topic. It's called webhook, right? So webhook is basically, it it uh, it leverages external services. For example, if you have an external API that you have created, and you want to make sure that, if somebody is asking about something, like if say, if you have a weather API, okay, and then if you want someone to give answer, like, someone to know the weather or something like that, right? So if you've created an entire API, then you need not have to store everything inside your agent itself. You can create an API, and you can use that URL with and, like, get information from it using something called as webhook. Okay, I will also show you how to do it. It's not completely a straightforward process, but it is not that hard either. But I'll show you how to do that. So webhook helps you connect with external services, where you can send requests and receive responses and all of that using webhook. Okay. So state handlers are basically, for example, if you so state handlers are basically like, what how the bot should respond to a particular stage, or like to an input at a particular stage or something like that. So basically, for example, routes are also state handlers, route groups are also state handlers, or like, event handler is also state handlers. So all of these are called state handlers. It basically defines what the bot should do, or how the bot should respond to a user in certain state. Okay. And when it comes to event is basically like, for example, uh, if you have used a button or something, okay, so the button will have an event, right? So you can basically use this event handlers and define what to do when that button is clicked. Okay. So, and also, for example, they have like, in the initial page, you will also find something called as no match event handlers and default event handlers and all of that. These handlers, what they do is basically, whenever the user is not, like, user inputs something, and the bot is not able to match it to any intent, it's not able to recognize the intent or anything like that, then it straight up goes to no match event handler, and whatever response that we have given over there, it will make sure that it gives that same response to the user. Okay. Mean, there are so many ways where you can use this particular platform and create a, like, build a chatbot and make it as conversational as possible, and you can control it to a good level of like, good extents also. Now comes the conversational agent part, where the important tools that we need when you have to, when you want to add generative AI aspects to it, right? Right now, whatever we spoke, these are the main things for a flow based agent. But right now we are moving to generative AI. Like, when if you want to add generative AI aspect to your agent, what are the important important components that you need to remember. The first thing you want to remember is playbook. Basically, these are structured guide where you can provide practices and strategies for building these conversational agents, right? For example, like I showed you before, um, you can basically give instructions in this playbook and tell, if somebody is asking about Hawaii, go to Hawaii tool or something. So whatever, you can provide examples over here so that the bot wouldn't get confused. So all of this that we saw before, all of them were done through the component called playbook. Why is this important? Is it provides the agent with guidance. You can provide prompts to the agent so that it will understand the data, the tools better, and act accordingly. Okay, you can control the generative AI's responses to some extent with using playbooks, right? Tool is basically like a mechanism which where you can interact with external services or like APIs or databases, during when etc., when you're trying to fetch real time information during conversation, right? So last time when we saw, we used something called as tool, where we added databases that we stored before and all of that, right? So all of that you can do it using tools. Okay, now comes to data store. Data store is a structured storage system where you can basically retrieve or store data dynamically while you're conversing with the agent. And it also helps, all the chatbots to use external resources like PDF files or HTML, or if you have any APIs that from where you can grab the data, you can basically leverage all of that and build your data stores accordingly, right? So that's with the definitions. But if anyone has any doubts, I'll give like some time so that like 2 minutes. If anyone has any doubts, you can ask them. um, if not, then I'll continue showing the UI again, like so that it will be easier for you to understand this way, now that you know all the definitions.
Yeah, let's go to, sorry, this is Venkat. Let's go to the first page, first slide actually.
Okay.
So the first components, intent, entity, and what are all other two actually?
Let me see, right? I'll just put them here. Yeah, flow page.
Okay, flow page.
Mhm.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Hey,
We can
uh,
share these
actually,
PPTs
uh,
with you. So yeah,
hey, I just got this invite, and I'm not sure like what is this topic and why we. I know like based on the topic, I could see it's Google Vertex AI. So may I know like what is the purpose of this?
yeah. So this is like us creating. So we are focusing on the agent builder and conversational agents, where we can create build chatbots with low code platforms like agent builder and Dialogflow CX. So in these situations, you need not have to have too much of coding experience. All you need is try to understand how you want to like build the flows, and how do you want to create the conversational agent, and everything else will be taken care in the background by the Google services itself. All you have to understand is how to create these flows, and how deep can you create these conversational agents and all of that. So that's the main agenda right now. And I will show you the UI of how conversational agents and Dialogflow CX looks, like I did before in the last week. And I will, like all the definitions that we have seen till now, I will show you how it all works. Right?
Uh,
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Excuse me, Megan, I have one doubt. This is
Yeah,
Harnath Reddy.
yeah.
I've been listening to the Vertex AI since the first class, so I have
Mhm,
created one chatbot, a conversational agent,
mhm.
for the Las Vegas. So when we go to the Las Vegas, so for example, so if you ask something about Las Vegas, it's tells about the Las Vegas and the hotels and some kind of case on any tourist places. So
Yeah.
in the real time, I mean in the marketplace right now, so
Mm-hmm.
is this conversational agents are really useful or these small kind of projects, or so how can we use the Vertex in real time markets? I mean like any kind of big part, this plays a big role in the
Yeah.
market.
So currently, I'll
I
be
mean,
honest.
the roles, kind of roles, in the roles
Yeah.
we use this.
Yeah, yeah. So currently, where I am working, I'm working at Wells Fargo, right? So I am into creating chatbots using Dialogflow CX and conversational agents. So why these things are useful is, say for example, you're working for a retail industry, right? Let's keep that as it, because it's easier to understand, and why conversations is important. I can explain it better.
Okay.
Now you will have multiple pages and multiple websites and multiple PDF files and all of that, right? Where
Yeah.
you'll have all the information about all the retail stuff that they have, all their dresses and their accessories and all of that, right?
Okay.
Now, using all of this data, what you can do is you can build a chatbot that can recommend according to your style. Okay. For
Uh,
example, I go and tell them that, let's say I use like an agent saying that, I am I am this much height, I'm a female, and I am looking for some party dress with a good gold accessories or something like that. And it can fetch data from whatever it can basically use the data store that we have created, and whatever it has, it will put all of them together and give you an outfit idea, and it will also show you all the references that it has used. So how simple is that? Before we would have had to search for the entire page to get these stuff, right? Now with using the chatbot, you can do it instantly. And
yeah.
let me give you another use case. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, I got to understand what you said. I mean, this is the same example. For example, in the e-commerce industry, for
Mhm.
example, let's take Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So they are selling on different products.
Yeah.
So, for example, you sell one pen to other guy and a pencil to the other guy. So,
Hmm.
when they want to address something kind of product about the product, so
Hmm.
they can't. If the two members has same issue, something kind of like that, so they
Hmm.
can't address at the same time. They can't to talk to the same member at them. So that time the chat or agents will be useful,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
they can talk to the chatbot agent so
Yeah.
that they could reply. Am I correct?
Correct. Because right now, chatbots have become in a way where you can add a lot of data, depending upon how your company or like how much money you're putting into it. But they have the ability to process a lot of data, a lot of information, like pages to pages together of PDFs. And when you're asking these conversational agents like a small question, it will fetch the data immediately and provide you the answer. Like I mentioned before, like for example, if you're like having some research stuff going on, or any policies that you want to look into before you're telling your users something, right? So
Okay.
you can use these search agents and all of that, and figure out like which policy can work for their use case, and it can be a starting point for you to explore and make sure that you provide them right answers. Like all of these used to take hours together before, like at least 10-15 minutes for the for custom, like for like anyone who's trying to say if you're like an agent who's working in a telecom industry or something, and somebody is asking you something, it would take minutes for you to like look for the data. But right now, if you use a chatbot right there, it will provide you in like minutes,
Yeah.
sometimes even seconds.
Yeah, got you, got you.
Yeah.
So is there any option instead of text we can, for example, I'm talking to you, right? So the
Mhm.
same way we can give the input instead of text to we can give the input voice so that it could
Yeah, yeah.
recognize in the voice. I mean,
Yes.
it is in the advanced level, right? I
No,
mean,
no, it is there. It is already there. So it's called call companion. Okay, let me just start going there so that I can show you everything.
Okay, okay.
So let me give me. So there are a lot of things you can handle. You can give it to live agents after one point, and you can do all of that, right?
Okay.
So if you go to this route that we just created, like I'll just show you later, but you can see here in advanced settings you can have call companion. So send call companion SMS, so you can use it in the call based also. So when you go to agent settings, you can basically set up all the speech and IVR here, and you can basically have them in your call based uh, like bots also here.
Okay.
Like, so there it's more advanced. Like if it is something interesting, we can create like an entire thing for this, but there are a lot of components that you can explore, right? So even be it like even that is there. And also like, in conversational agents, like I showed you before, you can add data and all of that here, right? So you can do a lot of things like call companion. I think there is a part where you can even give it to live agent also after some point. If the you can provide that particular thing to a live agent also. It should be there. I think I saw it somewhere.
I mean, you're talking about the trigger point or something to
Yes.
any other connection app. I mean, like
Yeah.
WhatsApp or
See.
Telegram, something like that.
Yeah. End flow with human escalation. So
Yeah,
after this it escalates to human, but that's all back end process again. Like,
yeah.
when it comes to that point, you like, it's a very different, like it's not, it won't become like low code anymore. But then you can do, like, you can end flow with canceling stuff with failure or human escalation. You can do all of these.
Okay, I saw in other platform same like Vertex AI. I have seen in the N8N platform so that we could trigger any WhatsApp or some kind of Telegram.
Yeah.
But same the we could create the workflow and get the output.
Yes,
For
same.
example, sending an email, something like that.
Yeah. So we have integrations also. Like when you see here, you can see all the integrations that you can use. See, these are telephony integrations that you can use. These are
Oh,
text-based integrations that you can use. And
yeah.
if you are into 3D avatar, I've never tried this, but like even that is available right now.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So
Yeah.
got an idea about this.
Yeah.
So
Any
thank you so
questions?
much.
Yeah, no problem. Let me check in the chat. Yes, I will share the PPT with all of you. It should be there with you by this weekend. So yeah, like I can share the PPT also.
Can I ask you one question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much for explaining this much of great things. So, what is the purpose of this one? Are you taking some this AI classes or kind of? Because I missed the initial part. I just joined.
Okay, so basically the major agenda to teach all of this is right now, nowadays generative AI creating chatbots have all being like the major attraction, right? Look, so everybody, we can see a lot of people, lot of jobs on generative AI engineering, prompt engineering, creating chatbots, and all of that, right? So we are trying to provide like a starting point where you can use Dialogflow CX or Vertex AI agents and conversational agents. All of these are low code tools. You need not have to have a lot of coding experience here. Instead, like you just have to understand how to create the flows and all of that, and you can build chatbots within minutes. So this is the main reason why we are doing this, just to showcase that uh, like there are existing platforms, like right now we are doing Dialogflow CX, which is Google's Google's product, but we will teach you about Copilot Studio, which is Microsoft product, and etc., which where you can focus on these low code tools and build chatbots within no time. So basically, like if you just click on publish here, and you can just see the code already existing, and if you just copy paste this code in an HTML file, your chatbot will be ready. So
Okay.
we're just trying to create like an awareness that even if you're a low code person, you need not have to worry, you can create chatbots.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. So is it free or it is your out of interest you are taking
Yeah, let
this?
me answer your question. So yeah, for students, a couple of initial and how to explore stuff in generative AI. We're trying to help every student. And when it comes to project involvement or proof of concept practice and all, we charge little bit. But yeah, the intention of this class is like this is for it's kind of promotional class.
Okay.
If you want to involve in proof of concepts or projects involvement and more in detail, like 100+ hours, maybe we charge little bit. Otherwise, the promotional classes and some important classes it will be free. So both will be
Yeah.
notified to you. Yeah. Okay,
I
you can
really
message me
appreciate. Thank you,
offline.
sir. I
I can
really
help you on
appreciate
that.
it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Meghana, one last doubt.
Yeah. Please.
So after creating one chatbot successfully or something you created successfully, so
Mm-hmm.
can we transfer for the public? So for example, you say, for example, let's say you created one chatbot. If
Mm-hmm.
I want to use it, can share it? I mean, like public for the example for the GitHub repository, something kind of like that. Can we connect to that?
Like if you want to use the same chatbot that I created, right?
Yeah, anyone created, for example, any person created. So if you want to make it public, so we can
Yes.
use of any other. Can we
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that?
yeah. See, like I told you, this particular thing, right? If anyone has this code, they will be able to run your chatbot.
Okay. I mean, like we can convert it to the repository GitHub, so people can see that we have created this. Is there any kind of option so that we could link to our GitHub account?
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm saying. Okay, to answer your question, okay, what
Okay.
I'll do is I'll probably copy this thing, put it in my HTML file. Okay,
Okay.
I
Okay.
will I will upload that HTML file to GitHub.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Got you. Got you.
Yeah, but you should see, what I'm trying to tell you is here, when you're doing all of those things, right, you are basically giving information about your chatbot and all of that with unauthenticated API. But
Okay.
sometimes you can even have authorized API so that no one can misuse your code. If you feel like, if you have any important information, you can even add authorized API also.
Okay.
Yeah, where they will need to have access token. So that access token, how to do it for a user stuff, it's all there in the documentation. They have step by step process, and you can just go through that.
Okay. So if we want to disable, we can disable the API key, right?
Yes, you can disable the API key, and it won't work for them. You can just show them the code, but it won't work for them.
I mean, like, yeah, every other influencer, something kind of people do disable the authorization key. So it's
Mm,
example that everyone could create the uh, chatbot using their own API keys.
yes, correct.
Yeah, thank you. Thank.
Because it's you can go ahead and do authenticated or unauthenticated API. You can even have domain access also. For example, say if you have your own website, right, you can just add that domain, and this particular chatbot will work only in that domain.
Oh, yeah, got you.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that also.
Yeah, thank you, Meghna.
Yeah. So I will continue. If anyone has doubts, I can clear them once I'm done with showing you the UI. Okay. So let's start with conversational agents. This is the same thing that I've shown in the last class. All I want to do is just brush up these topics and add additional things that I'm supposed to tell. Like I have covered a couple of things in when you guys asked doubts. So I'll just be more quick in this, right? So let's say if I have like the playbooks, right? So right now we have created just a generative playbook, correct? where we have used a certain tool, and we have given instructions like I mentioned before, right? First you will give a playbook name, and then you will add the goal of the playbook, and you have given instructions here of what that playbook is supposed to do, and you have added available tools to the particular to that particular playbook, right? And here if you click on it, you can have examples. For example, like when you book tickets, you can add like I want to book tickets, and whatever, like you basically enter a text and it will give you whatever it thinks. You can basically change, if you want it to navigate somewhere else, you can add the entry, right? You can have an agent response, or you can have an event that is supposed to be coming at this point. So you can add all of this, so that if you provide a couple of examples to the bot, so it will navigate accordingly. So this is not controlled, right? We are not controlling here, we are letting the generative AI model to give you the answers. So that's why we have to use these examples, so that it will be easy for you to within the generative AI also you can control them to some extent, right? And you can change the settings also, there are a couple of settings that you can do, like which I will show you in the dialog flow, the agent settings, I will show you them also. But like uh, all of these for initial stuff is not required, but you can go ahead, like you guys mentioned about advanced speech settings. So all of this also you can change, right? So these are playbooks. What did this playbook do? It basically is providing the instruction, like a box where you can look into this playbook and you can understand what this particular agent is doing, right? Now if I go ahead and like if I try to add another playbook, right? Like here, test playbook or something. And then let me just add the same tool, like doesn't really matter. So I'm just like showing you that you can use this playbook somewhere else also. Right? Okay, I'll just save this. Example. Okay, something happened. We have an example. I think it's saved. Let me check. Yeah. So now if I go to like instructions, okay, like for example I told you, right, you can have multiple stuff to do. Like for example, now we did only for Hawaii travel. You can have different cities and you want generative AI to use like that, right? So you can create multiple playbooks and have one specific playbook where you can add all of this, right? Here you can say if someone asks about test, use playbook, test playbook. So when you what did you do here is and it will show you basically if you have examples it will be easier, right? So you just go and let's just save this, and you can actually go and add an example here, like add example, and then you can do I want to go to test. Then it will just give something, then you just delete this entry. Okay, let me just go back again. So you can just add an entry and then you can do playbook invocation, and then you can just put the playbook name and then give summary, like going to test, whatever summary, right? You can give the things, and then you can save this, and you delete this, and you save this example. Okay, and there is an output. So you save like example display. Okay. Oh, display name, sorry. So you can use, like, you can create a example over here, and you can see that this particular test playbook will have a an example to understand. So you can create like this. This won't work for now because it's not done. All I'm trying to show you is that within a playbook you can add multiple playbooks. So what can be a use case here is, let's say I put a travel agent as main playbook, the default playbook, and I will add New York as one playbook, Hawaii as another playbook, like, multiple, like, Florida as another playbook, and I provide data stores to all of that. And now I want to make sure all of these playbooks are recognized. So in the main playbook, like a travel agent playbook, I will make sure that I give instructions like, if someone asks about New York, then go use playbook this. If someone asks about um, like, asks about Hawaii, then use Hawaii playbook. So I can give multiple playbooks like that, and provide examples like we did before, like how we provided an example for test. So we can do that. We can we can do playbook invocations and provide examples over there. So what is this telling is, basically, from one playbook we can go to another playbook. We can basically uh, control them to some extent. So that's why we use playbooks, right? And you know what tools are. Tools are basically where you add a data store, or, like, a couple of um, options that you get, like you can add a data store, or if you have like an external API, or a cloud function. According to that, your the way the tool is created will change, and you can create you can like build tools in that way. And what is a data store? Data store is basically where you add all the documents and all of that we have seen before. So this is the conversational agent part, where you use the generative AI part of it, right? Now I'll show you how basic Dialogflow looks. It is almost simple, like it is similar, right? Like, you can see when you go to this particular flow part. Okay.
Meghana garu, excuse me.
Yeah.
Just a small question. So,
Mhm.
if you, while making the chatbot, instead of putting the data directly, can we give the connection to the Gemini or chatbot or Quen 2.5, something like that directly, instead of giving a particular data? I mean, like,
Are you saying that you can do you like without a data, if you can invoke any chat
yeah, by using the API
generative
key,
AI tool,
or
right?
just directly connect to the LLM.
Just a basic, like, right now you are connected to an LLM. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
If you don't want it, because you're connected to an LLM itself, it's acting according to your data. Like, what conversational agents that you can create is through this. But if you just want to add generative AI outputs, you can do that also.
Okay. Is there any limited particular data input for this? Only this kind of, I mean, this much data should be given input, not much more than, I mean, like, is there any limited kind of data for this?
In free aspects, yes, you will have limits. When you are using free quotas, they will have less quotas to it. It all depends upon token limits and all of that, right? So
Oh,
if you're working in a company, you can talk to like Google sales team and increase your quota limits and token limits. But when you're using free stuff, it will limit you to certain like amount of data.
okay. So the company also will be providing that data for you. For example, they say some kind of a create chatbot. So the required data for it, they'll be given by the company, or we should collect from the outside sources.
It will all depend upon your use case, right? Like for example, if I'm working in a bank, I should not use outside data at all, right?
Oh,
So I should make sure that I use with the data within, and make sure that the data is safe and all of that, and provide answers. But if you're giving like an informational basis, like for example, like the travel agent that we are taking,
okay.
we can use outside data, right? Like so that, because outside Google Maps, Google data or something, we can use and add them to your agent. So depending upon your use case, you basically store your data.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah,
Thank you.
like for example, if it's a publicly available data, say in banking sectors, especially in banking sectors, if it's publicly available data, they won't be so hard on what kind of data you're using or from where you're storing the data and all of that. But if you're using internal data, they'll be very strict about how you're ingesting the data. They will
Okay.
have a lot of permissions and a lot of layers within the data set. Like that's again compliance stuff, and all of that comes into picture.
Okay, so we make sure that data should not go outside.
Depends, again, depends upon your use case. Yes.
Yeah, okay, got you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is how, yeah, like answering your question, you can go and like if I think there should be agent settings here. Yeah. So when you go to generative AI, you can add the you can add this to, like this will basically be, if you enable this, whenever it won't be able to understand, it will just answer from this particular generative AI fallback aspect. So that's the question if you wanted to answer. But like for flows, it will have different things and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one is basically whatever I'm showing you right now. The spell correction is basically whenever, if even if you make like like spelling mistakes, so according to the threshold that you put, it will still be able to understand it, and if it can match to any intent, it will do it. So that's how the spell correction works. But you need to allow, basically. Yeah. So you can do a lot of stuff like this. I will, like, these are much better. You can, if you see it in the Dialogflow CX, this is still in the preview stage, so it's very confusing for us to see it here. But I'll show you the Dialogflow CX UI, so it will be easier for you to understand. So just to show this part in how it's working, like I showed you before, I'll just like use like a new session, like where I can say hi, and then I will just ask who are you. Let's see if it understands. Yeah, so it is telling. So I want to know about Hawaii. It is still working, I guess. Yeah, it is working. Now I'll ask about New York. Let's see if it understands, because we don't have the New York data. So it says it does not have any information about New York, but because we didn't provide it, which is a good thing, it's not taking anything outside. Also, we can basically provide, like, let's say I want to book tickets, right? Like we saw before. Now it has gone to the flow, and if I add New York, it will store that, right? So all of these that we saw. So right now I will show you the parameter also, so that it will be easier for you to understand here. So like I mentioned before, what are the parameters? They are just variables that you can provide. Like, I'm sorry, it should be location. So these are like system entities that you can provide. Like I told you, right? let's say if you are good into coding, let's just like, it's just an analogy, not completely deep. Like the parameter is basically like the variable name, and entities are basically like the like, what do you call them? Kind of like, like integer and string and all of that. The data type, yeah, entities are like data type. But this is much more simpler, because it has uh, words that we can understand, like location and city and email and all of that. Like you can save that as an analogy, so that you will understand what parameters and entities are, right? So we covered parameters, we covered entities, we covered playbooks, tools, and data stores. Now I'll show you what intents is, how intents work, and all of that. Okay. So when you go to manage, right, this is where you can see all the components and resources that Dialogflow CX provides for us to make it more conversational and in, like, and all of that, right? So what are intents? Intents are basically like intents are used basically to grab whatever the user is trying to tell. Like for example, I'll like it, whenever you start an agent, you will definitely get default welcome intent and default negative intent. You cannot delete these both. Okay, you cannot delete the default welcome intent, but you can change the training phrases here, and you can even change the, like, what happens, like, in the route, what happens after it captures this intent. You can change all of that, but you cannot delete the intent itself, right? So now I'll show you an example of how intents work. I will remove all the training phases. Okay, right now we don't have any training phases. Okay, let's see if it still understands the weather. It doesn't, because it does not have any phrases where it can relate to and give us the answer, right? So it will go to no match event handler, which I will show you later. Like for example, now I'll tell weather. See, it didn't understand what we are trying to tell. Now, how does these intents work is, in this intent, I will provide it training phrases, right? I will provide, okay, now how many kinds of times, like how many ways that I can ask about weather. I can ask about weather, like, how is the weather today? What is the temperature? What is the weather like? Let's, like, if it tags anything, just like, if you're not intending to, you can delete them also. So so now you have added a couple of phrases, right? Now I'll save this intent. Okay, now if I go and add pub, like, try to do the same thing, I'll basically use the same sentences if you want to. Oh, okay, something happened, let's see. Okay, let's delete this.
I think you need to publish, right? Where do you publish?
Yeah, I think I have to make sure that it has some things here. So I'm just trying to understand why did it glitch. I think it should be good. Let me try to publish it again.
So what is that disable the authenticated API? Like, are we not using API here?
Yeah, we need not have to use API keys here. See, it's providing us with the answers now. Yeah, like so basically this authenticated and like basically how it works is, Dialogflow Messenger works in the API format, but if you want to use like a low code platform, it, when you use this, it will provide you like an HTML. If you enable like authenticated or unauthenticated API, it will provide you an HTML code with which you can start building the chatbot. So this particular thing will provide you the chatbot itself. You can change the UI, you can make some customizations and all of that in like using this particular HTML code. You can use this and you can add more to it basically.
Mhm.
So
So
you
how
can
do we get the API? I mean, I'm not sure whether it's related for now. So how do we get the API?
so you can see here, right? When you see the code, you can understand that it will provide us. So this particular thing is itself will have the API connection, right? So when I
API
copy this
connection.
code, let's just put it in Notepad so that you will be able to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can have you can see the agent ID. Basically, they do have a JavaScript file and a CSS file which we are not allowed to make changes to, but they do have these style sheets and JavaScript files. And also in DF Messenger, this is a tag. Basically, you will have the location, project ID, and all of that. So, so this particular entire code itself acts like the API that we will get when you
Okay.
have authenticated API, authorized API. You will find another like basically you will find additional information over there where it will ask you about the token key and all of that.
So it automatically generates the API.
Yes. So it will ask you the auth client ID and client token name if you have like if you have the authorized API. How do you set up this auth client ID and all of that are there in the Dialogflow documentation. I can put this in the chat so that it will be easier for you to explore further.
Okay.
So this basically this is one of the integrations, right? For you to create like a low code platform, like a low code chatbot, that you can use this particular integration. Dialogflow Messenger is like a native integration that they provide, so you can use that.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, so if you're very good at coding, you can even use Dialogflow CX APIs. If you just like scroll here, you can find something called as interactions, where they will show you how to work with using the APIs also. Not just like if you need not have to, you can create your own chat interface and then call the Dialogflow CX agent using an API, which does not make it low code anymore, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was showing something, right? Yeah, I was showing the intent, how it works, right? So before we did not have intent. Okay, I have to me enable unauthenticated one. Yeah. So before it did not recognize, now it recognized and it has provided us with the data. Why? Because it was able to match to this particular intent. And whatever we have given the fulfillment as, it has provided that answer, right? So now let's see one by one what these things are, right? So
Hey,
let's
sorry,
go.
one question.
Yeah.
So the data, right? Whatever the bot is trying to get. So where
Yeah.
do we have that data?
The responses, are you saying?
Yeah, the responses, like on what basis or where is the data it contains. So
Yeah, I'll
is
get
it
to that. I'll get to that in like just few seconds, right?
okay?
So, so basically we have seen what intent is, entity is, right? So now this is basically whatever you're seeing, this is default start flow. So this is the flow. Basically, in this particular flow, you can add multiple pages and you can make sure you navigate to one page to another, which we will get to at this point. Okay? So in the weather, so we have, so basically what route is also, this route will have all the information that let's create like an analogy here, right? So what is a route? It's the rule, basically, that it determines what happens next in the conversation based on your input, user input, right? So answering your question, so what this route does, so when you have that particular intent, you need to use it somewhere. Like you need to make sure that when the agent grabs the user input and matches it to the intents that we created, what should the agent do? All of that will be there in the route, right? Now, for example, let's come to the condition. For example, if somebody is providing like a user input, or if we have any conditions before it responds, before it provides a response, we can add all of that. For example, like we have seen parameters. So if you take any user input or something, and you want to make sure that make sure that the bot responds only when the parameter is when that particular user input is not null, or if it is greater than something or lesser than something or something, you can use this condition, right? And we spoke about fulfillment. To answer your question, fulfillment is the section where it gets to know what to do, uh, or what to perform here. So here you can add agent dialog. You can add whatever agent responses that you can want to do. Like for example, I'll just put the weather is or something, and it will respond accordingly. You will have multiple ways to provide the agent here. Like you can have conditional responses. For example, like I said, if there is any input, right? Like for any user input, and let's say you're talking about some age or something. So let's say, like in conditional responses, what you can do is you can tell if the user input is more than 10, then answer this, or less than 10, answer this, or equal to 10. So you can add those conditional responses also in basic if else statements, right? And in custom payload, basically, since we are using Dialogflow messenger integration, you can see that you can have multiple custom payloads. You can add chips, you can add buttons. So this particular this particular section in their documentation provides you uh, like everything about what HTML customizations you can do. And in the fulfillment section, like I showed you in that custom payload part, so you should basically put this JSON kind of format, and it will provide you responses like this. So for example, if you go here, and if you need like an info title like this, they have provided you with an example of how to use it, right? So like that, you can provide description boxes, you can provide images, you can provide videos, you can provide chips, buttons. You can do a lot of UI customizations using this fulfillment responses, right? So all of this, when if you want to use this, you should use something called as custom payload. Okay, so if you add this custom payload, you will just get a box like this. And in this JSON format, if you just like copy paste these and change these subtitles and titles and all of that, so you can just add this here, and you should be able to see this. It'll all be messy, but it's just the way to show what you can do with the in the fulfillment section, right? So you can do this. You can add generators. Generators are basically adding a generative AI component, like a very basic generative AI component, and provide the responses. So this will only be useful to this particular response. It won't be useful anywhere else. So that's basically like you adding a small generative AI concept. Over there, you need not have to add a data store and all of that. Nothing like that. Just like a basic answer if you want to. And if you have any parameters that needs to preset, for example, if you want to initialize some parameters, like how you initialize variables, you can do that here. I mean, like if you have like hours and hours of classes, it's easier to go through all of this, but I'm just jumping so that since these are like introduction classes, so I'm just trying to make sure you understand all of this, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then comes to transition is like, so after it gives you the weather, like for example, if I'm asking about weather, right? After asking about weather, I want to go to another flow. So how do I do this? Like another flow, like I want to go where I want to know about like say uh, about rain or something. So I want to create a flow for that, right? So I can just add a flow here. So what it'll do is, similar to what we see here, it creates it creates another flow which will be attached to this particular page. So so I can just create like a rain flow or something. This is just to show you the thing, and it will create a flow like this. Only default flow can stand on its own independently, but you cannot access these independently. So there should be some way where all of these flows that we create will be transitioned from default start flow, right? If you don't have any transitions, you cannot access these independently. Only the default start flow and the default start page is the only two things that you can access independently. Access in the sense, that's how agent goes. Agent cannot directly go to rain without going to default start flow. That's what I'm trying to mention, right? So in this you can add multiple pages also. Like for example, if you don't want to go to another separate flow, you just want to add like a page within this particular flow itself, you can even do that. So right now it will disconnect to this particular flow, but I'll show you. Like if you can just add an agent, add a page here, and then you can add a page within that particular flow also. See it. So under the pages it has added an additional page which will come under its flow. So what I'm trying to mention here is how deep you want to go, or how flexible you want to be with your conversational agent. You can go to that extent. You can create pages within the flow, or you can add multiple flows. You can do however you feel like. Design is completely up to you, right? Yeah. So this is how routes and flows and work. What else did I miss? Oh yeah, webhook. So like I mentioned before, right? I mentioned that we can get answers from external APIs also. So there is something called as webhook. What this webhook do is, say if you have like external API, okay, you want to grab the data from there and provide responses to it. So what you can do is you can use those APIs, but in between you need to make sure that you have a cloud function, which is again a little complicated, but I'm just showing you as like an option that you can do and what I have done. So I'll go through like within minutes so that I'll not rush too much, but I'll show you how it works, right? So webhooks are basically like, say if you have like an external API information that you want, and you want to parse that data and send it as a fulfillment response. So you can use cloud function in between, make sure you grab that data and add that webhook and add that cloud function URL here, so that it will provide the answers from outside. You need not have to think about an entire way to this. Like for example, like if you want your data to be secure and you don't want it to be shown in your like in the responses section or something, you want to make sure that you have like an additional security, and you just want to grab that data from outside. So what you do is basically you create like a small cloud function here where it will grab the data from whichever URL you want to. You parse that data accordingly, and then you send a fulfillment response like this. So the data that we got before, where it showed, which gave us the answer, it came from this particular response. It was not from. So I haven't put. You can see that I haven't put anywhere where you can see like the weather is. I haven't put this particular sentence anywhere. You can see that in this particular response. But from where is it coming? It is coming through a webhook, right? So I'll show you how to set up that. So what you have to do is basically you have to go through the webhook, and you should add you can add like the webhook name, and you can have a webhook timeout. Timeout is basically like it will wait for 10 seconds for the response, and then it will give you a timeout error. And then what kind of web service it is? Is it a generic web service, or it's a service directory service? Look, these are the additional stuff that you will have to learn, which I cannot cover in this particular uh, period, but I can show you like how it works, right? And then you provide the URL, and then you provide like which what kind of, is it a flexible webhook or is it a standard webhook and all of that, and you can provide additional stuff. But I just used a simple open API here, like a weather forecasting API, where I use this API, and I made sure I wrote like a small code, how to handle grab data from this API using a cloud function. And I have given this particular URL to the uh, uh, webhook URL part. Why is this important? Is webhook basically does not, Google Dialogflow CX does not allow you to get your external APIs just like that and put them in this URL section. You need to make sure that that particular URL is either stored as a service directory or connected to a cloud function. So that's how the mechanism is. That's why you need to create the weather API. So all of this, you need not have to worry much. This particular code, trust me, I haven't written everything by myself. So if you have chat GPT plus or something, I would recommend you take it if you want to explore. You can basically ask, the chat GPT plus is pretty good with coding stuff, right? So you just go and provide this open, this is for just for the, do not use this for like um like you know uh, like secure data, don't use it for that. But if you just want to explore how these things work, all I did was ask chat GPT a couple of prompts, and I was able to get the code, right? I was like, if when I got an error, I even put what the error is, and it was able to debug the error and then provide me a code. And I just literally copy pasted and made some changes, and I was able to get the answer. So
So
just
what was
make
the
sure that
prompt?
you explore.
I'm sorry. What was the prompt that you requested for the code in ChatGPT?
Since it's an open API, right? I just didn't worry about security or anything. So I just first asked, how do I connect? Then it will give us all of this. Then I just put like, I have this API, give me step by step. I don't know anything. So what it does is it will
Okay,
provide step by step like this,
got it.
right? And then what I did was basically, okay, for everything it lasts, let me know when you're done. So you make sure you ask them, and then since you can add photos, I did that too. So it'll give us all the answers. And then um, and then I got an error in between, like I mentioned, right? Webhook will not, you cannot add a webhook. So basically, I showed the error. It figured out that this means Dialogflow CX does not allow direct API calls as webhook. You need to use cloud function. It itself mentioned that I have to use cloud function, and I could create like a Google Cloud function and enable cloud functions. Like it just basically gave me everything, all the answers that I was supposed to. And I literally copy pasted this code and made a certain changes according to what I need, and then I was able to get the answer. That it just goes that simple. So if you give like a proper prompt, put step by step and all of that according to your need, it will act according to that. But I have used plus, chat GPT plus, which is, which because I wanted to copy paste the photos also, and it did a pretty good job, right? So using this, I was able to just copy paste the code here. And then when I added this webhook, I was able to get it. Now let's just try to test the agent, right? See, first I gave this, the weather is, you can see that this usually we just copy pasted from that from this fulfillment section. I am able to get that also, and I was able to get the webhook answer also. So you can basically use fulfillment in any way you want and create answers that way, right? So this is one thing that I wanted to show you about webhooks. Um, and and you can also add versions to it, which you can go ahead and explore. They're not tough at all. It's just like, you can create like snapshots of whatever is existing right now. And you can even, if you enable conversation history, you can go to agent settings, and then you can enable conversation history, and you can, whatever conversations are happening, you can see them there. You can even export the data to BigQuery. And if you go to machine learning, you can allow this so that it will, if you, even if you make like mistakes, even if the user makes any mistakes, it will be able to find out. And if there's any intent that it could match, it will do that. And you can have like a fallback, generative fallback, where you can add this default chat, so that it will be able to like, get this. So, and then you can add speech and IVR. You can have multi-model, where you can even add calls to this. And you can even like, share like whom you want this agent to be. uh, on an agent level, you can make sure you give permissions to people to develop it. And then languages, you can add languages to it. You can add additional security. And then you will have advanced, like, sentimental analysis and all of that. But I wouldn't like, suggest you guys to go through all of it. You will get way too confused. But start fresh, like start like, simple, right? Just create like basic things. And you can even go through the documentation that they have provided here. And you will be able to, and they're pretty good with their documentation. And you should be able to understand all of this, right? So is there any question? Did you feel like I missed something? I can answer them for you.
So this is free software, or do we need to make the payment for this one, like Dialogflow, whatever this?
Initially, you do get a couple of free credits from Google, as like,
Mhm.
for the Google account itself. But if you finish that credits, it will be pay as you go.
Okay. So can we use couple of emails and get it multiple times?
Yeah, I think it's credit card basis. So, like,
Oh, is it?
once you use the credit card, I don't think it'll like take the same credit card. But I think that's like, at least when I tried, it did not work. Like if I use different email but the same credit card. um but I think that's how it works. But like I can show you the, it wouldn't, like I did a lot of things. It'll give you like up to $300 credit in the starting. So and then if you use Vertex AI, I think it will provide a little more credit separately to Vertex AI also.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be sorted for initial exploration stages. The internet is slow.
What's the pricing?
It's pay as you go. I can show you the billing. I usually don't get much billing. Even like, like right now I'm still under credit, so it's just 85 cents. And like all of that, because I'm not using more of the data, but we have explored a lot of things, right? So I'm using the same thing, and it's not giving me much of the cost. Like it's just less than $1 for whatever I did till now. So that's pretty good. But you like, because this is also because I exhausted my credits. If I wouldn't have, even this wouldn't have come. You can check in their sites also. It's usually pay as you go. When you go through a level where you are using it for a company based, it'll increase a lot. But be careful with your billing accounts. Like if you see a huge amount of transactions happening, just make sure that you stop the billing account and try to figure out in different ways, right? So, but just keep an eye on it. But I don't think it'll cost you a lot. Well, like since right now we have see, last time also whatever transactions are like just like $1 or $2 or something. So that should
I
be
think
okay.
we can set up some alerts, right? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
this
we
is,
can set up like billing alerts also. I'll get emails a lot of times.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, anything else? You can do a lot of things. You can use that particular conversations, and you can use it in BigQuery, and analytics and all of that. There's a lot of things that you can do without knowing a lot of coding, lot of coding. If you're just like a data analyst and you want to create a bot and analyze how people are reacting to it, you can do that also.
So can we integrate with Power BI, these kind of tools, reporting
Yes.
tools?
Power BI, like we will get to Copilot Studio and you can see how, like, Microsoft has, but here we have something called
Yeah, I
BigQuery
think,
analytics and all of that, right?
Meghana,
We
I
can
think
do that.
most of the cloud allow, third-party tools like Power
Yeah,
BI or
yeah. I think
Fabric
it's
tools,
possible.
Yeah.
Like once you store it in BigQuery, you can do whatever you want after that, right? Like if you want cloud logging, and if you can do any other like it works as any other service after that.
Yeah, there are many people asking me about the coding and non-coding, right? So for non-coders, these are the best tools like Azure OpenAI, Google Vertex AI, Amazon Bedrock. And if you guys really Umesh is asking multiple questions, right? So yeah, try with the free credits, like with different emails and different credit cards with different laptops. Definitely, you will be getting like $600. So the only you get more bill is when you use like firewalls in cloud, virtual machines and firewalls. Even when you practice something like anything like analytic tools or reports or something you try within cloud, right? You need to delete the resources immediate use on the same day. When you log off, you have to delete the resource and then log off. So that's where you don't get billed off. But
Got it.
some reason, if you forgot the resources and I mean, the cloud assumes that you are, consuming the resource and by default some money will come. So one day I forgot to delete my firewall in Azure cloud. I see that for 1 week they charged me around $600.
Oh
And
my God.
yeah, and then I raised, claim request and then they approved and yeah, I mean, there are ways to,
Yeah,
you
like
can
they
get the
they
money back.
do give you, like, sometimes you can tell them that you didn't see and all of that, and they will investigate and try doing it, but like be careful with billing accounts.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. For non-coders, definitely there are a lot of features to practice. You can practice analytical tools. You can practice monitoring tools. You can
Yeah.
practice AI component, Mom Meghana explained. There are so many classes. We will help you guys. Go one by one and see, listen 2 times and try to practice some proof of concepts and do one project using Google Vertex AI. It's not only our classes. There are so many open sources available. Practice it and come up with your queries. Definitely will help you.
Yeah, this is whatever we have we have taught right now are like tip of the iceberg. You can literally go and do a lot of things with the concepts that you know. You can go as deep as you want while you're creating conversational bots.
Okay.
One more thing, it's asking for a prepayment. We have to do it, right?
It's not prepayment. It'll ask you to like give your card details. It won't charge anything, but it'll have card on their account. That's the whole point why I asked you to be careful with the billing account. It won't
Okay.
ask you to prepay anything, but it'll ask you the card details.
Yeah, after your trial period, you have to either cancel the subscription or you have to remove your card.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you start using after your trial period, it will charge to your card.
Okay.
Yeah, it said right, $300 free credit, no automatic charges. It is pay as you go.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to KKR Gen AI Innovations channel.